And welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is the generative power of generosity. And I think it should be interesting. Again, we're playing with words, but there's a world of possibility available to us as we dig in and gain a richer understanding of the language that we use, a deeper relationship to it. So I love nerding out on words. Anyway, before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that sensation and the tickling and the tingling, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. Great to have you here with us to kick off this Monday morning. So today we're talking, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Today we're talking about the generative power of generosity. And the thing that brought that to mind for me was simply the words itself. Rosalind says, last day of the month. So it's first day of the week, last day of the month. I could have done endings and beginnings today for a topic, but I didn't think of it, Rosalind. But thanks for bringing that up. That's such it's a great observation. What do we do when we're at endings and beginnings? Maybe all endings are beginnings. And all beginnings in some way, shape, or form are endings. Good morning, Gia. So good to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about the generative power of generosity. So, of course, I'm doing my word nerd thing, and I've got my little dictionary here. And generosity, by definition, in my little phone dictionary, says readiness or liberality in giving. Readiness or liberality in giving. And then it also says freedom from meanness or smallness of mind or character. And then it says largeness or fullness, amplitude. So generosity is largeness of attitude or largeness of or fullness, readiness or liberality in giving. So normally when we think about generosity, we think of it in terms of an act, an outward act. Good morning, Lisa. So good to have you here and joining us this Monday morning, last day of the month. So Rosalind says, coming from a place of abundance. Yes, so giving in its own way is coming from a place of abundance, right? And when we give liberally, when we are generous, whether generosity of spirit, generosity of material things, what is happening when we are truly being generous? We can be generous with our time, we can be generous with our love, we can be generous with our attentions, we can give things as part of our generosity. I love that, Rosalind, you're saying coming from a place of abundance, because I think real generosity is coming from a place of abundance, a place of connection and caring. And then if we look up the word generative or generate, I'm going to look up generate first. So generate means to bring into existence, cause to be, produce, to create by a vital or natural process, to create and distribute vitally and profusely, to create and distribute vitally and profusely. So when we think about generosity, we're talking about abundance of kindness or giving, right? Giving. And when we are creating and distributing vitally and profusely, isn't that being generous? You know, so we are generating what? We're generating love, perhaps, or connection, or appreciation, or, you know, what are we generating? We may be, in our acts of generosity or our spirit of generosity, we are creating connection. We are generating new possibilities. So new openings, new possibilities. In what way? So even something as small perhaps as a smile to someone in a checkout line, in a way, you know, that's coming from a space of generosity and connection. You know, it's sharing, it's generative, it's generating a new connection. So it's interesting to me, because I think typically when we think about generosity, there are often a lot of caveats around it. You know, generosity is typically thought of as giving rather than a cycle. It's not seen as a creative act necessarily, or a generative act. And yet it can be, like, if you are smiling to somebody in a checkout line, and they often smile back, and what's been generated is a connection. What's been generated is perhaps a new emotion, or a new awareness. So I'm just a new frequency even. And I'm just looking at some of the things where people talk about giving and over giving, you know, where I gave and gave and gave, and there was no reciprocity, and then there's resentment, and that's not true generosity, right? That's wanting some kind of something that's conditional, which works perfectly with what you're saying here, Rosalind. Rosalind says conditional giving versus no expectation. Perfect timing. If something is to emerge from the giving, are we talking about coming from a place of no expectation? Yes, absolutely. Generosity is giving with no expectation, right? That, you know, it's very different from giving, expecting something in return. Generosity is coming from the presence of giving, right? And we don't, giving in that way is always a gift to the giver. So it's generating something for ourselves when we are being generous to another. My celery juice. I'm loving celery juice. It's delicious. Anyway, yeah, so I love this idea of coming from a place of being generative. And we are, so one of the best definitions of life I have heard is that life is whatever is emergent, is something that is in the process of emerging. I'm probably destroying the actual verbiage of it here, but it's pretty close. You get the idea that life is an unfoldment, and anything that is in the process of change and transformation is part of a living system, is alive in its way. And so in this context, you know, our things that we consider unchanging, like the mineral kingdom, they are also alive, you know, a part of this living system that we are. For example, that everything is part of that living system. And this notion of regeneration, which is something that I'm steeping myself with on all kinds of levels, from understanding regenerative agriculture to regenerative economics to regenerative development. You know, there's all different ways of regenerative thinking, you know, all different ways of contextualizing this notion of regeneration, but also generative, being generative. And the idea of being generative is being creative. And when we not just regenerative is not just creativity, but it's kind of creativity within a greater context, is a super simplified, probably oversimplified way of explaining it, but within the context of a system, you know, to regenerate the system based on its calling, rather than imposing our will, which again makes me think about generosity. You know, we might think we're being really generous when we're giving something to someone, and maybe they're saying no, 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 and we're insisting. Is that generosity then? Or are we giving with some kind of expectation, some kind of imposition? It is possible to be giving in a way that is disempowering to the receiver, right? If I give you money, and every time I give you money, I affirm that you're incapable of sourcing that money yourself, is that generosity? I think that's an important question, because so many times, you know, money can be wielded in that kind of context as a power and control mechanism, right? And oftentimes we'll give in order to, I mean, that's a way of giving in order to dominate. And that's not generosity. That's not what we're talking about here. And it's not generative. You know, it's not creating something I'm using the word generative here in a context of creating something positive, something beneficial that is an enhancement rather than a something that wow, what's the word? Something that depletes, an enhancement rather than something that depletes. So I think when we allow ourselves, when we talk about this giving thing, so many healer people are really radical givers, right? And overgive and give to a point where they may even experience resentment. That's not generosity. And welcome, Elaine. Good morning. It's great to have you here with us this Monday morning and last month of February. So when we talk about giving, people have all different motivations for giving. And the thing is that when we give generously, meaning unconditionally, then there is a joy just in that giving. And I believe that it is generative. You know, it's creating, as we said earlier, it's creating connection. It's creating the open new possibilities. You know, by being in that field of generosity, by being in the field of non-conditionality, you know, by being in the field of connection to another. I mean, what is generosity is an act of connection. It hopefully it's coming from a space of inspired connection, right? Or appreciation or love. And when we give out of obligation, that's not generosity. You know, when we give to the point of our exhaustion, as many healer people do, where they kind of put themselves in a place of sacrifice, that's not generosity. That's it's abuse, right? Self-abuse. There's something else at work. To be working yourself to a point of exhaustion, there's something else at play. That's not an expression of generosity. It's an expression of something else. And while it may be supporting others and serving people, if it's to the point of self-damage, that's not, there's another dynamic that you get to look at, because it's not just generosity, and it's not, and it might be a sense of duty, but you get to look at what's underneath that is driving you to the point where everything and everyone else is more important than making sure to replenish yourself. So Rosalind says the present, I can't interpret what you're saying, Rosalind. I'll read it as it is, but I can't make quite sense of it. The present could being a whiteness to how it is received. And I'm, even if I say the present could be a witness to how it is received, oh, okay, that makes sense. So the gift to oneself could be witnessing the way that the gift that you're giving is received. I agree, you know, and even if that gift isn't received with the joy that you would hope or whatever, even if it's never seen, we can still be generous. And let's say we're giving an anonymous gift. We're not necessarily witness to how that that gift is received, and hopefully that gift is generative in, for instance, when there are people struggling and we donate money to those people, or we donate goods to those people, what it's hopefully doing is creating new possibility for them. You know, the possibility of being fed, the possibility of, you know, being able to have a little bit more flexibility, to be able to rebuild their lives, to rebuild their foundations. So Rosalind says, we don't have to be witness. No, we don't. We don't have to be a witness, because when we're talking about generosity, it's the gift. It's the gift of the giving itself. When it's purely generous, it's like to be giving, because there's a need that's recognized, or because it just makes your heart happy. That is the gift in and of itself, right? And so we know that giving is a gift that gives to the giver as well as the givee, right? So I just love that the word generate or generative connects with generous. And as I'm saying generate, I'm thinking of generations also. You know, there's the verb generation, or is that a noun? That's a noun. The generation of something. But we also talk about generations. And what are generations? We're giving new life to humans, right? From one generation to another, we're generating new life, new possibility. And generous has as its foundation that same foundation. So I think it's interesting, when we make these connections. Excuse me, when I make these connections, what happens for me is that I have an expanded experience of these words. They become more multidimensional, the meaning of them, and that translates into my awareness and my expression, to see the interwovenness of these different concepts and the multi-tiered meaning, that I can incorporate into my expression. And also now when we think about generating something, when we think about being generous in terms of generating something and giving, when we are creative, when we are creative, we are in a state of generating, right? And that is creating something big, large in some way. It's taking this energetic frequency and manifesting it in some way. That is a generous act as well. So the act of generating is in itself generous. It's a givingness that is connected directly with the generative act itself. We're generating something, so we're contributing something into the world. So when we think about generosity, we can be thinking about contribution. When we think about creativity, we can think about contribution, because it's creating something from nothing. It's generative, or something from something, for that matter. Anyway, I want to say thank you guys for playing with me with these words. And Elaine, you just got in under the wire this morning. Elaine says, this is a time to practice being present and listen to your own intuition, trusting what you feel. As one gets better trusting themselves and making choices that feel better or in alignment with your heart, becomes about waking up, not a victim or persecutor or savior or get or give control, but being love as it is our natural nature. 100%, Elaine, 100%. And in this presence, there is a generosity in and of itself. There is a generation, a generating new possibility, and new beingness, new each moment in itself is new. So it's a generative way of being present in the world. So thank you for that. And Lisa says, I'm a giver, I can't help myself. But it's not just being generous to another, it's sometimes about being generous to me. Exactly, Lisa. It is, I mean, ultimately, it is about us. We give because it feels good to give in some way, shape, or form. And we get to do that unconditionally. And that's where the beauty of it is. That's where the purity of it is. When we give unconditionally, as we presence, like giving part of our giving love with it, right? Giving love and connection with whatever it is we're giving. Anyway, that's it for this morning. Thank you so much for playing and for engaging in this conversation. I love this wordplay, and I love sharing it with you. And I so appreciate you for showing up and being part of these conversations. So that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN, One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. And if you enjoyed this, please share it. Share it so we can grow our community and grow our conversation, and just share the generosity. So much love to you guys. Hope to see you again here really, really soon. And happy end of February and the gateway of March.